YouTube? I am your host, Mediocre Tourism Reviews, back in here with one more video. Guys, much different video today, but I had to bring this to you in the best way that I know how. Now, you're probably looking at the thumbnail, you're looking at the title of the video, and you're like, what is going on in here? Well, let's get in it, all right? I had this article that was sent to me not too long ago, and I want to go over it with y'all to the best of my ability. Now, I'm going to try to make it through this article without laughing, okay? I want you to do the same because this is serious. Let's take this serious, all right? But we have to be able to address this because there's information and news like this that paints such a horrendous picture on men driven by left-leaning feminist ideology media outlets that I think unless you have someone with a contrarian ideology or point of view going through the article, a lot of this information hits someone's eyes and they take it as gospel. But I'll be frank with you. I was reading through it and it's kind of hilarious. But let's just go through it for the sake of going through it. Hopefully a video like this hits the eyes of someone who needs to see it. You understand what I'm saying? Here's the question at the top of the article. Is toxic masculinity driving climate change? ? These artists think so. Is toxic masculinity driving climate change? Let's get serious on them, all right? From storms named after women that cause more damage because people prepare for them less to men who refuse to recycle because they think it looks girly. Climate change is riven with toxic masculinity. A new exhibition argues. Okay? All right. Climate change is a man-made crisis in every sense, with male-dominated culture fueling damaging behavior while women and girls disproportionately pay the price, said the creative team based in the London-based art show. They hope to shed light on the issue with an exhibition responding to themes of gender and climate by 30 artists who are women or who do not identify as male or female. Okay. Here goes one of them. Climate change is sexist. It disproportionately affects women and girls precisely because they are already marginalized in our society, said Ashley Johnson, a member of the Do the Green Thing, the environmental group which organized the show. Climate change is now sexist, according to this young lady, because of how it disproportionately affects women and girls. You know, listen, at the end of the day, I don't have data on that, so I'll take that component of the article as such. So what you're telling to me, not that climate change is sexist, that's just absolutely ridiculous of an assertion for you to lay out. But like the idea that women and girls are disproportionately affected, I can see that and hear that, and I don't necessarily think that it's not true, okay? Because I think this is where my simple brain goes, is that, well, if you have a man who already has the opportunity and the availability to make more money in a lot of these different societies, after something of a hurricane or something like that due to climate change happens, or an earthquake or what have you, whatever the natural disaster is, he is then more inclined to be able to support himself. That's where the logic gets me. Or maybe he knows how to build more things with his hands. He has the tools to be able to do that. He has the ingenuity to be able to do that. I can understand that argument, but to say climate change is somehow sexist and you're using these fire terms or these weaponized terms in order to prove a point to then illustrate how men are terrible. That's where this is going. But let's move on. Let's continue. There's gendered consequences. There's gendered causes, and there's gendered solutions. We wanted to explore that as an idea and offer artists the chance to respond. Exhibit A. Don't laugh. Don't laugh. These are art pictures of Toxic masculinity, I guess. Wow. Works by these artists are seen at the Man-Made Disaster exhibition organized by nonprofit group Do the Green Thing in East London, okay, back in 2019. Man-Made Disaster. Works by the artists are seen, okay, that's the same thing. Experts say women and girls suffer more than men from the effects of climate change. According to United Nations, they account for 80% of those displaced as a result of the vulnerabilities are exposed during disasters. Yep. Just like I was saying earlier. Meanwhile, a study suggests men have bigger carbon footprints on average and are skeptical of climate change. With one recent paper from Yale University saying some are put off from environmentalists because they see it as feminine. Women on every metric you could think of generally are more environmentally friendly, said Johnson. They're more likely to recycle, they litter less, they're more likely to buy an electric car, and they're more likely to vote for politicians who care about the environment. All right? Men, on the other hand, are just influenced by toxic masculinity. So because of this term of toxic masculinity, the man being toxic, he is then unable to care about his environment because it's seen as weak, because it's seen as feminine. Not that the issues of that politician and what they're fighting for more aligns to their beliefs. No, not any of that, but it's because they don't care about the environment because they see it as feminine. So let's draw what that looks like. Arrgh! Look at that man with all his muscles, his toxic muscles, and that fantastic mustache. Oh, look at that man with his dirty, dog-like, angry teeth and that long, vivacious mane on the top of his head. Side note, this is something that I could have done in kindergarten. Okay, you guys got art exhibits for kindergarten level work. All right, not hating, it's just criticism. Step your game up. All right, men on the other hand are often influenced by toxic masculinity and make the exact opposite choice because they're worried that the environmental behavior brands them as feminine. Is that the reason? Is that the reason? The exhibition went on display at Protein. Okay. Artworks range from portraits of women and girls threatened by climate change to pieces offering suggestions for solutions. And listen, at the end of the day, I understand. Let's highlight the fact that we may be disproportionately affected due to climate change and within it that it's happening. I don't necessarily is just gonna believe you when you are asserting that climate is then changing at a rapid rate more than because what a man is contributing to society more in pushing a carbon footprint. Because listen, at the end of the day, men are also creating electronic vehicles as well. So are you just discounting the men that are trying to come up solutions for these older technologies? Because most of us drive gasoline cars to get to work, right? Like most of us on the construction site, we have gasoline vehicles. So yes, we're using more things that will cause a higher carbon footprint, sure, but it's also developing things that you sit on, that you watch TV with, right? Like all of these different things that you use as a consumer as well, right? So let's not forget that, but then think about all of the innovations from a carbon footprint perspective that men are innovating on and are creating on. Let's just not forget all of that. I think it's easy to forget about that as well in order to push your agenda forward, that we are some monolith of terrible people, right? And because of the decisions that we're making, we're affecting women at a higher rate. Let's stop that. Let's have a genuine conversation about what can be also actually happening. Okay. Then there's some more lighthearted contributions. Lighthearted here to me means shaming. There's some shaming tactic contributions. Let's see what they say. Such as work dressing up bins as strongmen. Okay, so that was the lighthearted contributions. To help tackle the stigma around men. Okay, so these are garbage bins. Okay. Sophia Thomas, a graphic artist, contributed the artworks with the neon quote, "I want you to panic," from 16-year-old climate activist Greta Thunberg. All right, over a tangled black background of comments, prominent male climate change skeptics. These pieces are about urgency. All right. The research I did around my piece, I was also looking at some of the voices we have been hearing very loudly for the past decade, which are big climate deniers, and they are very male. Okay. Listen, there's a lot of, I want to say the consensus around climate change is disproportionately pointing towards our carbon footprint is leading to a climate change. I want to say it's between 93 and 97% consensus. That's just the top of my mind. Feel free to quote, fact check me on that. The majority of those scientists are men. So, right, like whatever talking points that you have, also try to back that up with actual facts, actual points, so we can have a conversation and not just get into a place where it drives us further apart. There, we did it. Made it through the whole article without laughing at the pure hyperbole, just pure exaggeration, pure ridiculousness. It is what it is, though. We got to be able to talk about these things. Listen, at the end of the day, the more that we don't talk about these things and bring us together to talk about these very nuanced topics, the farther the split happens, the farther the divisiveness happens. You understand what I'm saying? That has been your video. That has been your reaction. Mediocre tutorials and reviews at gmail.com. Guys, articles as well. As you guys see articles, send them my way. Mediocre tutorials and reviews at gmail.com. That's my email. Feel free to send them that way. You understand me? All right? Until next time, YouTube.